Are we ready to go?
Go ahead and start.
Okay. Thank you. Whoa. Um, let's call this March 19th, 2026 Santa Fe County Planning Commission meeting to order. May I get a roll call, please?
Here.
Here.
Here. Thank you very much. Please, let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. The next item on the agenda is to discuss and elect chair and vice chair. The enabling ordinance requires that we vote for the chair and vice chair in January of this year. We're a little bit behind. So this is something we will need to do. So we haven't really discussed this, but is anyone interested in acting as chair?
Mr. Chairman, can I make a nomination?
Certainly.
Can I nominate Mr. Chairman to be chairman for this next year?
Thank you. Yes, I'm happy to do that if the votes go that way. And vice chair, is anybody currently, Commissioner Trujillo is the vice chair of this body. Is anyone else interested in? I see shaking heads. I nominate Commissioner, I'm sorry. I nominate Commissioner Trujillo to be vice chair. So let's take votes on each of those. So we have a motion for vice chair. I've nominated, move that Commissioner Carl Trujillo be the vice chair. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Thanks, that passes. And I'll make a motion to, for myself to be chair, or?
I'll make a motion for the chairman to be chair for this year of 2026.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Great, that was easy. Okay, next item is approval of the agenda. Staff, are there any amendments to the agenda as it was posted?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to note that consent item number 3A, case number 255260, final order for John Talkovich, is not ready and will be moved till next month.
Okay, so we will pull the action item for the consent agenda 3A, remove that from the agenda. Anything else? That's it?
Mr. Chair, that is it.
May I get a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes. Next item is 4A, to vote on the final order for the variance. This is not a consent item, but case number 255200. May I get a motion to approve this final order?
A motion to approve the final order for 25-5200.
Thank you very much. May I get a second?
I so second.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Pava. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Next, we have a general plan update. Update on the comprehensive planning process by Heather Lamboy.
Chair Obo, members of the commission, thank you so much. I invited my colleague from the city to come and talk about this planning process that the city is undergoing. And you all, with your planning chops, are going to find it pretty interesting. I also have invited Herbert Foster, who will be heading up the county's planning process. And he won't make a presentation, but he's here to just kind of give a little segue into the county's process. Thanks so much. And I will turn it over to Ms. Lamboy.
Thank you very much. Welcome.
Thank you, Director Ladd, and thank you, Chair Bowe and members of the Planning Commission. It's nice to present to you. It's my hope that the county and the city can collaborate on our comprehensive planning update processes. We are already doing that at the staff level, and I'm very grateful for Herbert Foster as well as Director Ladd who are participating with our technical working team, as well as Commissioner Pava. Commissioner Pava provides a lot of expertise based on his experience in the city, and we're still smarting from that. But also, we really want to make sure that a political boundary does not divide us. We want to make sure that we are actually collaborating on long-range planning issues as we go forward. So the comprehensive plan, which is also known as the general plan for the city, has not been updated since 1999. Back in my 20s, I worked for the city of Santa Fe as a historic preservation planner. And I don't know if you all can see my presentation. Okay. All right, thank you. So there were a lot of good things about that plan back in 1999, but we have changed a lot as a city, as a region, and our goals and our dreams for the future of our jurisdictions. Would you like me to pause for a minute, or all good? All right. So I'm going to provide a bit of a background, what the status of the plan is, our public engagement process, the findings we have made to date. And I would encourage you, if you're a data nerd like I am, you can go to the SantaFeForward.org website and take a look at our assessment report. It really does provide some great background on the changes that we have had in our region since 1999. And then the scenario frameworks. So in the city, back in 1999, we had all sorts of goals that we set for ourselves, 492 to be exact. And so it's taken us 25 years to accomplish many of them, but some of those goals really were they didn't have a metric by which we could comply with those goals. So what we're trying to do is establish priorities for the city, and correspondingly in concert with county efforts to help improve our region. So statutory regulations in the state of New Mexico requires that we update our general plan on a regular basis. And the governing body also set forth that the Planning and Land Use Department needed to update the general plan back in 2023. So what is the general plan going to do? It's going to guide those investments that the city is going to make. So the intent of the general plan is really to make good decisions about those city investments for programs as well as infrastructure improvements. It's going to be concise, Our general plan right now is approximately 500 pages, and so we're splitting things up to make it more bite-sized and manageable, and also to make it more actionable. So the general plan is that 30,000-foot policy level discussion, and then we're going to have an implementation plan as well. And that's where we will, in concert with the capital improvements programming process, update those priorities on a regular basis every 5 years. And then there will also be updates, intermediate updates as well, as our programs change. So the dual components are the implementation general plan, implementation in the general plan, but also companion to that is the City Smart. The city needs to communicate better to its constituents, and especially in planning and land use. A lot of people want to know, for instance, we get public records requests for building permits. And so we've constructed a website, and it's not completely uploaded yet, but you can click on your property in the city and actually be able to see all the building permits that were issued since 1999 on that property. So our completeness task to date is the public engagement, the first round of public engagement. We had a community partners program, so there were approximately 16 nonprofit partners with the city that have navigated this process with us, and they received a micro grant. And with that money, they helped to have a series of meetings with their constituencies, including Indigenous Ways, as well as St. Bede's and St. Elizabeth's Shelter, AARP, and many others. That Girls Inc. is another one that gave voice to what we're trying to accomplish with the establishing the mission and the vision. And so we've completed Stage Gate 1, where I mentioned the assessment report has been published. We also provided a fully translated Spanish copy that will be in the libraries for use for school children as well as the public at large. So our next stage gates include those mission, vision, strategies, which we will be rolling out this summer. We are currently vetting it within internal departments to make sure we align on those priorities. And then we will be presenting in a series of district meetings, town halls, with the different counselors in each district, as well as participating at local community events like the Southside Video. And then we are approximately 80% complete with the City Smart digital user platform. We have 250 boxes of paper files in what we lovingly call the Boneyard, which is over at the rail yard. And so we're still scanning a lot of documents, and we have some catch up to do. So it's going to be a little while before we finish out getting all the data available for the public at their fingertips. We also have a draft preferred plan map that we're going to be generating, and then the implementation plan, as I mentioned previously. So our public involvement communications has been equity focused. We actually did an analysis on areas of displacement and areas of threat from an equity lens. And we have a map in the assessment report that illustrates the areas at the highest risk of displacement. And I will say that Area 1B, where the meeting that's going to be held tonight, is an area of highest threat for displacement. So in addition to other areas of the city. We've worked with the technical working group, and we've been giving briefings to interested parties. Whenever we receive a request from an organization, we go and make presentations and get feedback. We've had open houses, and we've also been aligning and collaborating with our land development code updates. So we have finished phase 1 of our land development code update, which was to reorganize and make understandable a code that had been amended over and over and over again since 1987. So, and also use graphics to make it easier for the public to understand, for instance, setbacks and other types of things that aren't just intuitive. And so we have finished that, and we are starting to, and launching into our key issues, and that includes historic preservation standards. We're working on a wildland urban interface with the fire department. Massage parlors have become a big issue. I don't know if you've seen the newspaper, but we are drafting regulations relative to the licensing of massage parlors. And so lots of different things are happening at the same time. Also, our program has been completely bilingual. I actually recently got interviewed in Spanish, and I was very nervous, but supposedly it turned out pretty well. So we've had over 9,500 unique website visitors, 780 completed surveys, and we've been at many, many events. And that's my favorite part of my job, is interacting with the community. And so that was a great experience to hear what people had to say about how they see Santa Fe and what they dream for with Santa Fe. We've also had interaction on social media and city listservs as well. So the greatest alignment, the big topics that the community agrees upon is housing and affordability, community facilities and services such as parks and community centers and the like, environmental stewardship and resilience, and transportation and mobility. So population growth is forecast to continue, which will level off in the 2040s. So as a country, we are shrinking in population size, and that is reflected in the city as well. Our study area included areas of the county immediately surrounding the city, and just as a way to understand the regional picture, which is the responsible thing to do. And also we can share that data with the county in order to plan for initiatives on different regional activities where transportation investments are made, for instance. There's substantial vacant and underutilized land, so infill is a major emphasis, both in the Land Development Code as well as the General Plan Update, to make more efficient use of city services and grow within what Councilor Cassett likes to call gentle density, is allow for infill development, will help to reduce the stress on the county for accommodating for housing. Additionally, affordable housing, county is like drive until you can buy. And so there are very special places in the county where, in Rancho Viejo, I used to live in El Dorado, in different places, people are very much part of the Santa Fe community, and it's not just the city or the county, it's the city and the county. Water supply is also a major concern that's been raised. We've done substantial study on that. It is adequate, and we do account for climate change. As we know, it's been a very dry winter, and so we anticipate that could continue going forward. But there's funding to maintain all of the infrastructure that's required for that and keeping those assets in good repair. And all of our housing, employment, and mobility opportunities need to be diversified. So we can't be just a service economy. We also have government services as well as tourism services, but also how can we strengthen maybe connections with Los Alamos and grow bioscience industry within the Santa Fe County region. The mission statement that gained most consensus is faithful to our heritage, focused on our present and forging our future. Santa Fe Forward shapes the city different, sets priorities, and opens opportunities for all. And just as an aside, please, this is intended to be a conversation. So I have my notebook here. So if you want to stop me and say, I have a comment, please let me know, because I'm going to be taking notes. The vision statement: Santa Fe supports and respects the needs and growth of all in harmony with our heritage environment, thriving today and tomorrow as the city different. And then we have a series of frameworks. This is the connections framework, and mobility certainly was one of the big topics that were discussed. How do we get from home to work? How do we get from home to a place where we like to go visit and to play, and all of those things? So there are a series of community connectors and transit nodes, which we're really trying to account for. Also, on-demand transit may be something we need to look at more often, because there was one city employee who was trying to use the on-demand service to get to work. She moved to Santa Fe and did not have a car. And it was almost impossible. My sons did not learn how to drive until they moved to Santa Fe because they had to. So that when you're thinking about the community that doesn't own cars, that makes it very difficult. And so we need to have a more robust transportation network. And with reference to those communities just outside of the city limits, we need to have those connections as well. One of the major comments was, how do I get to Santa Fe Community College, which is in the county? Also, there needs to be connections on a community-based level. So how do we provide services to the Tierra Contenta area? Phase 3 is coming our way, which will involve approximately 1,500 dwelling units. What kind of services do we need to provide to that community? Midtown, we have approximately 3,000 units planned there or entitled there, and so there's going to be a lot of change in the Midtown area, as well as the Siler Rufina area, which has really become sort of the new arts and entertainment district of Santa Fe. And of course, the city center, as we evolve over time, you know, there are changes. Like from the plaza, I remember back in the 1990s, the resounding comment with the rail yard process was, well, the plaza is not ours anymore. It belongs to the tourists. And then, so we're going to do a plaza here at the rail yard. Well, the feedback we've received is that we need a series of plazas for the different members of the community, have different activities. So Swan Park might be a great place for a concert, which can serve both the county as well as the city. This map relates to the resilience. So the term parajes in the map sort of refers to or references the Agua Fria traditional community as well as Cienega. Those were parajes. They were stops on the way into Santa Fe. Well, this will be similar. We'll have Esencia, we'll have El Dorado, as well as many others, which will be part of the Santa Fe framework. And so that's the area generally that we're collaborating with Director Ladd as well as with Mr. Foster to make sure that we align with the county comprehensive plan well. And then we have different nodes of activity. There's the health and wellness activity along the St. Michael's corridor, as well as down in Las Saleras. There's retail and entertainment and many different other types of nodes of activity that we want to watch grow and make sure that we make space for targeted industry and economic development. So that concludes my presentation. We will be reaching out during the summer, and if you would like a regular update of our comprehensive planning process as well as the Land Development Code update, I'm always happy to come to present and also to listen.
Thank you so much, Director Lamboy. I wonder, commissioners, is it appropriate for them to ask questions?
Absolutely, yes.
Commissioners, does anyone have any questions for the director? Commissioner, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Lamboy, thank you for that presentation. It was very nice. One question, as you know, even as I read in the paper, everybody's concerned about water, as you know. And I saw that you'd mentioned that there was a lot of thinking that went into it and some sort of report that there's adequate supplies. How do we get access to that report? Because a lot of times people come up here for variances and it's a new high-density subdivision and they have allotted 220 acre-feet or whatever of water. And somehow, you know, is there like a banking system for that, or are these adjudicated rights, or these are just, how does that all work?
Chair Abo, Commissioner Trujillo, so the way the city process works is for projects that are not affordable housing projects, require that we obtain water rights over a certain size. Smaller projects don't need to provide water rights. We have an overall city water bank. But the challenge is obtaining those water rights these days. It's becoming more and more challenging, more specifically with reference to the Native American tribes and their senior water rights requests or ownership. And so that is a critical piece of all development review projects, and we don't approve a project until they have provided enough water to service that development.
So, Mr. Chair, Mrs. Lamboy, so they have to get this approval, comes from the state engineer's office, is that correct? Is that where they get the allotment that they provide to the city that says we have this water right?
Chair, Commissioner Trujillo, that's correct. They have to go through the state engineer's office to record those water rights and cede them over to the city.
Okay. And Mr. Chair and Director, as you mentioned, well, a lot of that is, as they've now building the new regional water system, it's going to be hooked up into the county. There's a lot of those rights that can be leased through the Native Americans. Is that correct for a lot of these projects?
Chair, Commissioner Trujillo, that is correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any other questions for the Director? Seeing none, thank you so much for the presentation. Really appreciate it, and hope you
Thank
can
you.
come back soon.
Thank you very much.
Next, so on the agenda, I made a little mistake. I've just been elected, and so I kind of blew something. I skipped over item number 2, which is approval of meeting minutes from the February 19th, 2026 meeting. And I'm wondering if we can backtrack. May I get a motion for approval of those meeting minutes? Commissioner Pava, move to approve. Commissioner Bruger. Please. Thank you. So we have a motion with a suggested minor amendment. May I, and do we have a second for that? Oh, second, Commissioner Bruger. All those in favor of approval of those minutes, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, that motion passes. Now let's return to our regularly scheduled agenda. The next item is case number 25-5290, Catherine Baca, applicant.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commission members. Destiny Romero, Building and Development Review Specialist Senior. Catherine Baca, applicant, requests a variance of Chapter 9, Section 9.12, Village of Agua Fria Community District Overlay. The request is to allow a minor subdivision of a parcel consisting of approximately 0.684 acres and to allow no minimum setbacks as required by Chapter 9. The base zoning allows one dwelling unit per 0.75 acres. I do. Destiny Romero, 240 Grant Avenue, and I know I'm under oath. The request is to allow a minor subdivision of a parcel consisting of approximately 0.684 acres and to allow no minimum setback as required by Chapter 9. The base zoning allows one dwelling unit per 0.75 acres. The Agua Fria Community District Overlay provides that density may be increased to one dwelling unit per 0.33 acres if the lot is served by public water and sewer. The property is located at 2062 Terrazas Lane. The property lies within the Village of Agua Fria Community District Overlay, Commission District 2. The property currently contains 3 single-family dwelling structures. One of the structures has a common wall dividing it into 2 dwellings, thus making it a total of 4 dwelling units on the property. One residence is connected to a septic system, while the other 3 are connected to the City of Santa Fe sewer system and Village of Agua Fria water. The applicant had a survey prepared and recorded in 1986 creating a condominium with each dwelling structure as a separate unit with a shared common area for the remainder of the property. But the survey was not approved by the Santa Fe County Land Use Administrator. However, staff has provided an aerial map in 1978 pre-code that shows all existing structures for the proposed subdivision. The applicant has addressed the variance criteria, and staff has responded to the applicant's comments as contained in the memo. On February 12, 2026, this request was presented to the Sustainable Land Development Hearing Officer. The hearing officer memorialized findings of fact and conclusions of law in a recommended order on this request. The hearing officer, based on the evidence presented, recommended approval of the requested variance. Building and Development Services staff has reviewed this request for compliance with pertinent SLDC requirements and recommends the Planning Commission adopt the recommendation of the hearing officer for approval of the requested density variance of Chapter 9, Section 9.12, Table 9-12-3, Dimensional Standards of the Village of Agua Fria Community District Overlay Traditional Community and the requested setback variance. If the Planning Commission finds that the application has met the variance criteria and recommends approval of the variance, staff recommends the following conditions at a minimum be imposed. Mr. Chair, may I enter the conditions into the record?
Yes, please do.
Thank you. I stand for any questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Romero. Commissioners, do you have any questions of staff? Commissioner Bruger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Romero, is this a request for 3 lots or 4 lots? And specifically, I'm interested in for where the building is, where there's a common wall but under there's 2 ownerships on both sides. Is that going to be separate lots?
Mr. Chair, Commission members, the request is for 4 lots. The division will be through the common wall that will make each one of those its own lot.
Thank you. I'll save my questions for a bit later.
Sure. Vice Chair Trio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Ms. Romero, how are you doing? The question I have is, it says, you mentioned that there was a survey that was not approved, and that survey that was not approved, was that back in 1986, or what is that, when was that?
Mr. Chair, Commission members, that survey was done and prepared in 1986, but did not go through the Land Use Office.
Okay, but as I read here, and as you mentioned, there was an aerial map in 1978 that shows all the existing structures were on that property at that time.
Mr. Chair, Commission members, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Pava.
We're sharing the mic, so that's to control the number of questions that come from this quarter of the room. Ms. Romero, in your preparation for this case, could you tell us, given this is the village of Agua Fria, are there similar situations that the county has reviewed and variances for this sort of thing been granted recently or in the past?
Mr. Chair, Commission members, not to my knowledge, not since I have been doing this. Mr. Persino or Mr. Lovato may have a better answer.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Pava, we have not seen this happen as of lately. I have seen it in the past in various areas as Tesuque and in Powake.
Any further questions?
No, thank you. That's all for me.
Commissioner Bruger?
Mr. Chair, the part of it's a comment, and then I'll be asking questions of the applicant coming up. So my concern is that there's a common wall, and that we would be creating two separate lots for different owners. The county does not have a building code, a building department, so it wouldn't catch this per se, but there is a state building code on fire separation requirements for common walls, for duplexes and townhouses. The only reason I know this is because I ran into that on another project, and it's a concern that I have is the fire separation requirements between the two walls. Is there any? Is it 1 hour? Is it 2 hours? Does it comply with state code? Because if we're recommending a variance to the 5-foot setback and recommending approval of a lot, we better be knowledgeable about whether or not the separation, it complies with state code. If there's a problem down the road, somebody would come and look at the action that we took here. So I'll follow up with questions later for the applicant, but it's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I do note in the agency comments, there's a requirement of compliance with the Santa Fe County Fire Code. I don't know if that gets to the issue. Okay, it looks like it doesn't, but I don't know if in this case we would have the authority to require anything above and beyond. I don't think we have the ability to require anything outside of, outside of county requirements. So that's the issue. Go ahead, Commissioner.
If I may, and this may be a legal question down the road, but say there is no separation. Again, by separation requirement, if it's 1 hour, 2 hour, it's kind of what gets in the way of a fire on one side to get to the other side. It is that gives the fire department, whoever's responding, time to put out the fire and save the other side of the building. The concern is that if we recommend approval of two different lots that have, for existing structures that have a common wall, and down the road there's a fire in one, and it not only destroys one side where the fire was set, but it destroys the other side because there was no fire code separation. It did not comply with state code. Is the county liable in any way? Or could folks come back even on a decision that was made here, creating the lots without that separation? Thanks.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Ruger, my initial thoughts on that is that the county typically is not responsible for any party's failure to abide by rules and regulations, whether imposed by the county, city, state, or even federal laws and regulations. There, of course, are statutory protections for the county and other government agencies, such as the Tort Claims Act. And the fact that you here in a public hearing are raising the issue is certainly sufficient to put all parties on notice that these issues exist. So it's a very helpful comment that you've made. But while we may be concerned with the substantive need to comply with laws and rules and regulations other than those imposed by the SLDC, I don't think it's incumbent on this commission to identify those laws.
Thank you, Roger. Thank you, Commissioner Ruger. Are there any other questions of Commissioner La Cruz Crawford?
Yeah, I think just to follow up on that, that's kind of interesting because I did have that kind of similar question with respect to like, what's the legal standard? I mean, I guess the reality of it, my understanding is that this is a two-family dwelling, it's already existing, whether there's a lot, whether it's subdivided by a lot or not, they would still be theoretically responsible to meet the IRC requirements, which is a 1-hour fire rating between the two family dwelling units. So I think what you're mentioning, I think is correct, right? That the planning and our board, et cetera, as far as like with an approval, et cetera, or disapproval, whatever it is not necessarily affecting that code requirement in any way, correct? Is that kind of?
I think that's correct. And just as a side note, a comparable or analogous situation in this very same proceeding is that staff have not included as a condition of approval compliance with state law, specifically the Condominium Act. But certainly, the applicant and other owners of those units will need to make sure that they take steps to comply with the Condominium Act if in fact the application is approved and they move forward to dissolve the condominium association. That's not something that's in staff's conditions, but it will be required that they take appropriate steps to adhere to state law.
Sounds good. And I just had some follow-up, just kind of clarification questions on the site plan and how this is being subdivided. So it's 0.684 acres is the total lot right now, correct? Where the 3 residents or the 4 units are essentially.
Mr. Chair, Commission members, that is correct.
Okay, and then the site plan does show that it's being subdivided into 4 with a split between the condominium. Looks like a small lot down at the bottom for the unit down below and kind of a larger section up above. Do we know what kind of roughly the separation of these lots are, what they're proposing?
Mr. Chair, Commission members, we do not at this time. The applicant, we was advised not to hire a surveyor to have a survey done until whether this would get approved or not. Once they do, if they do get approved at that time, when they do come back in for their application, we will know what size the lots will be.
Okay. And there is then the note there that says that I believe 3 of these houses are actually tied to the public water, is that correct? And one of them is not? Which one is the one that's not?
That is correct. One of the ones that is not is one of the ones that is owned by Miss Baca herself. If this is approved, she will be required to connect to the village of Agua Fria.
Gotcha, okay. And do we know which one that is? Just out of curiosity, I guess.
Mr. Chair, Commission members, not off the top of my head, I would have to look at it.
Okay. And then the density, what do you call the density increase that we can do with respect to the fact that, at least planning and zoning code-wise and stuff that we can do if they're tied to the system is 0.33, 1 per 0.33, right?
Mr. Chair, Commission members, that is correct.
Okay. So essentially, the variance request is to be lower than that, since we'd be looking at more like 0.1 something per lot or whatever it is, whatever it turns out to be.
Mr. Chair, Commission members, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions of Mr. Romero? Thank you very much. Thanks. So is the applicant here or their agent interested in coming up and making a statement? Please be sworn in.
I do. My name is Catherine Baca, and my address is 2062 Terrazas Lane, Santa Fe 87507.
Thank you. And if you could adjust the mic so that we can hear you, that would be great.
Is that better? Oh, it's very loud. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for hearing our case today. I am Catherine Baca, and I have lived on Terrazas Lane in the village of Agua Fria for over 50 years. I am representing myself and the other two owners of the Baca Compound Condominium Association, which is 4 houses. One owner is living in England for family reasons, and the other owner, who owns 2 of the units, lives in California, and he's too ill to travel, so they are not here today, and most likely they might be online. We have the aerial photo from 1978 that shows that the dwellings existed before the 1981 code. If I still owned all of the property like I originally did, this would be grandfathered in. But since we are not a legal lot of record and have multiple owners, the variance is required. Over the years, we have always acted in good faith to do everything correctly and legally in order for us to be in compliance. But due to incorrect guidance from attorneys, surveyors, and the county on several occasions, we were never directed to the land use department. Had that happened, this could have been done correctly 35 years ago. In 2012, the property was reassessed as 4 separate parcels, 4 separate owners, 4 separate tax bills, which further supported our understanding that we were in compliance. I question how a property can be reassessed when it is not, especially to that extent, when it is not a legal lot of record. And that just doesn't seem right to me. At that time, I asked an assessor's staff, who later became the assessor, how we could each own our individual properties without being a condominium association. He told me that as soon as we had sewer and water that we could do that. Well, the correct answer should have been to direct us to the land use department. So it wasn't until 2022, 10 years later, that we learned we were not a legal lot of record. And that was a huge surprise to us. When we started this process in 2022, all of the units were owner occupied. And since then, 2 of the owners have passed away and their properties were inherited. I'm now the only owner-occupied owner on the property, and I'm facing some major changes. The heirs are struggling financially, and they would probably want to sell their properties. With the designation as a condominium association and non-compliance with the county, this makes that very difficult. In fact, the condominium association has just become a big burden to us in many ways. And that was the first big bad advice that we got 35 years ago. No development or physical changes are proposed for this. Everything will remain the same as it's been for 50 years. We currently have community water and city sewer down the lane, and I'm prepared to hook into the sewer, which I intended to do this year anyway. Everybody else is hooked in. We agree to comply with the county's conditions that they have in their variance report, and in fact, we comply with most of them right now. Approval would allow each owner to hold our parcels individually without the burden of the condominium association and have county recognition. That sounds really nice to me. We have strong community support. There was a fairly good showing of village people at the hearing officer meeting and people online. There was no opposition expressed at that time. I have gathered 41 signatures of support. 11 of those are family and friends who have known me on that property for over 30 years. 30 of those are village residents. One of those is a former county manager. Another is the ex-chair of this commission. And I have a letter of support from a former county assessor. They all know the property and support approval. I also have a letter of support from the Agua Fria the Agua Fria Community Water Association. They've known me for 30 years and the property. I also have a letter of support from the Agua Fria Village Association. I love living in the village, and I hope to be able to stay in my home as long as I possibly can. I'm very involved in the association. I am the treasurer and have been the treasurer for many years. I initiated our application to become a community organization, and I attend all the meetings and everything related to that. As a result, I now know more about the Sustainable Land Use Development Code and the Growth Management Plan than I ever thought I would. And I fully value the purpose that they serve. With all this in mind, I am respectfully requesting the Commission's approval of our case today. I thank you very much for your time and consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And first, I've never heard of residents of Agua Fria Village be referred to as village people, but I like that.
I call them all my village people.
I want to just see if I understand this correctly. When all of these structures were put in place, they met all land use requirements at the time. It was in the 70s.
Well, I actually produced some building permits, so we were acting in good faith. We were never tried to do anything illegally or underhanded.
And essentially what you're trying to do is reconcile what was put in the ground in 1978 with today's codes in a way that allows each of the individual owners to fully utilize their property, to sell if they need to get a mortgage. So that's essentially what I understand the case is about.
And when we created this condominium association, which I said was the first big bad advice we got, we all knew each other and we were like family. So it worked okay. But now that we have different owners and different people, it's not working.
I totally understand and sympathize. Thank you so much. Commissioners, do you have questions of the applicant? Commissioner Bruger.
Thank you, Ms. Baca. So if this variance were approved, and specifically for your property and the one next to you, where would the lot line go?
Well, it goes through the houses. And for your information, there is it's at least 6 feet, if not wider, a concrete wall that separates those two units.
Okay.
So I think that's probably a good fire barrier, but I'm willing to speak to whoever I need to clarify that.
It's inappropriate, I understand, to require going to CID, state CID, as a condition of approval, but it's for-year protection. As you say, many years ago, everybody knew each other. Say somebody buys the other side of the property, California private equity firm rents it out. Sure. Something happens on yours. A group like that is not known to be compassionate. So it's good to have at least the requirements in order. So that would be my comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions of the applicant? Vice Chair Trujillo.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your presentation. So the condominium association is a file document in the county clerk's office, is that correct?
That's correct.
So going through this process, do you have to disband this condominium? Okay.
Yes.
And what prevented you from disbanding it prior to this?
Ignorance. We just weren't aware that we could probably do that. And I don't know how that would work because we are assessed as a condominium. I wasn't clear of that. So this is something that I'm going to meet with the assessor and Destiny and clarify all this on how that works.
So, Mr. Chair, so at one point, the property was assessed by the state assessors, the county assessor office as a condominium association, and then at some point, each lot, because there's different owners, they would get their own tax bill with a different
That
address.
happened in 2012 when they came along and reassessed us.
Okay.
Never once did they mention, I never understood what legal lot of record meant until 2022. So it was really disappointing. All of this is disappointing now in retrospect because this could have been done differently 35 years ago.
So, Mr. Chair, if I understand correctly, you got, up to that point in 2012, you'd get one bill for the assessment of property taxes, and then it went to 4
And
different
I
ones.
went to the assessor's office. I can't tell you how many times I went and told them we were not assessed correctly. And they never did anything about it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any other questions of
I have a quick question.
Commissioner?
Hi.
Hi, Commissioner.
Is there a driveway that goes all the way through the property to the?
Yes,
It's hard to
there's
tell from
a
the-
12-foot easement, and the county just ran the 8-inch sewer main down there last year, and it's been 10 years or more that the Water Association ran a main down.
Okay, great, thank you.
And we have a fire hydrant and all the good stuff that we're supposed to have.
Any other questions? Thank you so much for your
Thank
presentation.
you, Commissioners. I appreciate it.
So this is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the room who is interested in speaking in favor or in opposition to this? Please come up and be sworn if so. Thank you.
I do. William Mee, 2073 Camino Samuel Montoya, 87507, and I'm president of the Agua Fria Village Association. Mr. Chair, Commissioners, we gave a letter of support to the applicant, Catherine Baca, and we actually heard her story, and we felt it was terribly unfair. She's been a part of our village for many years, and she participated in our 2003 through 2006 and our 2015 community plan update, and there was no mention of her not being a legal lot of record because, perhaps we could have addressed that at that time. And the sad thing is, I'm sure there's even more lots that don't meet the definition of legal lot of record. So we're looking at doing an update to our community plan and to possibly, reaching out to people and trying to straighten that out. There's a number of people here that support it. I don't know if you want to stand or raise your hands. But, we're very much in support of her application, and we just hope that the county can see fit to kind of right this wrong, because normally when you have a 1978 aerial and you predate the 1981 code, you just grandfather it in. And, the condominium association advice that Ms. Baca had gotten was, really took this off to the side and kind of messed her up and the other 3 landowners. But thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mee. Anyone else interested speaking for or against, or is there anyone online?
Mr. Chair, there's no one online wishing to speak.
Thank you. The public hearing is now closed. What's the will of the commission? Or are there any other questions? Commissioner Bruger?
Either staff or applicant, one of the conditions of approval is fire apparatus access driveways on Terrazas Lane shall have an approved all-weather driving surface. Haven't been there, but does one exist? Or if not, who would do that? And the second question then is, where's the closest fire hydrant?
Right on our lane. When the Water Association ran water, they put a hydrant right on our lane. And the county just last year installed our sewer line, our sewer main line. And so they put an all-weather road on there. It's a very nice road now, and it's high-tech.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. What's the will of the commission? Vice Chair.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the variance of case 25-5290 with staff recommendations.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any?
Just a comment, because I'm sorry if it's a good time to do so, but under the conditions, I noticed that it said accessory dwelling units will not be allowed on any of the 3 lots, but my understanding that it would talk about 4 lots, correct?
Mr. Chair, Commission members, yes, that was a typo on staff's part. I apologize. It'll be for all 4 lots.
Thank you. So I would
Thank you for
I would
that catch.
motion to approve it with that change, please.
So with that friendly amendment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, the next item is case number 25-5220, the Lee and Jacqueline Cordova variance. And just noting that Vice Chair Trujillo has a previous engagement and so has to leave. Quorum is 4. Commissioner Bruger, are you leaving? No, I'm coming back. Oh, okay, just getting some water. Thanks very much. He's read all the documents, so if you want to begin, please do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commission members. Destiny Romero, Building and Development Review Specialist Senior. Mr. Chair, Commission members, before I begin, staff received an updated letter of opposition amending the first letter that was submitted to staff. Mr. Quintana is going to go ahead and hand those out for me.
Thank you very much. And are we swearing in staff these days? We did swear her in, but that's a current practice? Okay, thank you. Please proceed, Destiny.
Thank you. Lee Cordova and Jacqueline Cordova request a variance of Chapter 9, Section 9.13.3.2.1 D, Pojoaque Valley Community District Overlay, Setbacks, Traditional Community of the Sustainable Land Development Code. The request is to allow an unpermitted accessory structure within 1 foot of the property line. The property is located at 11 Camino Catalina. The property lies within the Pojoaque Valley Community District Overlay, Commission District 1. The property currently has 1 single-family dwelling and 7 accessory structures, carports. One of the accessory structures was properly permitted, the other 6 are unpermitted, and if permitted to remain, will require after-the-fact permitting. Camino Catalina is a county-maintained road which takes access via Feather Catcher and Feather Road. Staff requested the applicant to obtain a properly surveyed site plan for verification of the location and roof overhang of the carport after concerns were raised regarding encroachment into a neighboring property during the hearing officer hearing on this request. The site plan provided by the applicant shows that the structure is located on the applicant's property and at its closest is located less than 4 inches from the property line. The applicants have addressed the variance criteria and staff has responded to the applicant's comments as contained in the memo. On December 11, 2025, this request was presented to the Sustainable Land Development Hearing Officer. The hearing officer memorialized findings of fact and conclusions of law in a recommended order on this request. The hearing officer, based on the evidence presented, recommended denial of the applicant's variance. Building and Development Services staff has reviewed this request for compliance with pertinent SLDC requirements and finds that the facts presented do not support the request for a variance. As stated above, staff does not believe applicants have made a showing that any of the variance criteria has been satisfied. Staff recommends denial of the requested variance of the setbacks of the Pojoaque Valley Community District Overlay Traditional Communities Zoning District to allow an unpermitted accessory structure less than the minimum requirements. If the Planning Commission finds the applicants have met the variance criteria and recommends approval of the variance, staff recommends the following conditions at a minimum be imposed. Mr. Chair, may I enter the conditions into the record?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. To be clear, staff's identification of these conditions is not intended as an indication that staff approves or would approve the granting of the requested variance. Staff's position is that this application does not comply with the SLDC and does not satisfy the variance criteria of Section 4.9.7.4, and that no conditions, regardless of how carefully crafted, can justify that non-compliance. These conditions are presented simply to inform the Planning Commission of recommended conditions if the evidence presented convinces you that approval of the variance is in fact warranted. Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commission members. I stand for any questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Romero. Staff, do you have any questions of? Go ahead, Commissioner Pava.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Ms. Romero. At the risk of sounding a bit rhetorical, is anything legal on the applicant's property?
Mr. Chair, Commission members, the applicant did permit the residence as well as one accessory structure. The remaining accessory structures plus the one that is nearing the setback will all need to obtain after the fact permits.
Commissioner Bruger.
Thank you for the presentation, Ms. Romero. So, and forgive me, I had to get water, you know, it's allergy season. How did this, how did you become aware of this issue before it went to, issued a citation? But how did it come up in the first place?
Mr. Chair, Commission members, this was a complaint that was called into our code enforcement officers.
Okay. Okay. So after it was built?
Mr. Chair, Commission members, that is correct. When our code enforcement was notified, structure was already built, the applicants were issued a notice of violation.
Thank you. So I see in the staff report there's one mention of the setback requirements that are required per code, Section 9, 13. I think you referenced that in your staff report. One, it has to do with a minimum of 10 feet between neighboring dwelling units. And then there's I guess it's a 10-foot minimum setback between property line and structure. There's a, and then you went to code section 7 for just in the traditional community district, if I understand it right, that there's a 5-foot setback requirement, and that's what you hung your hat on for this staff report, right?
Mr. Chair, Commission members, that is correct.
The one extra provision in code that I wanted to point out, if I understand it right, is exceptions, code 7.3.3.8, exceptions to setback requirements. Number 5, cornices and eaves may extend up to 5 feet into required setback, but shall remain at least 2 feet from the property line. I don't think that was mentioned in the staff report, but that's not that. The pictures I saw, it's not a classic eave, but it can go up to 2 feet from the property line, the way I read the code. Just a comment, but and last question, from what I understood from the staff report, the measurement that the surveyor made was from it wasn't from the face of the building, it was from the extension of the for lack of a better word, eave, for the end where the water is running off, right?
Mr. Chair, Commission members, that is correct. Surveyor gave us dimensions from the roof overhang.
Okay, from the overhang. And that's, it extends from about 4 inches to 15 inches, but on the applicant's property line, on property.
Mr. Chair, Commission members, that is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions of staff? I have a question about in the site photos. It is in Exhibit H, number 3 is a photo of a tape measure with about 40 some odd inches going to a white structure. That's one of the Quonset type ADUs or accessory structures. Is that right? Because it looks like it's up against something white, so it's not against the built carport wall, it's against something else. I'm just trying to get context for that.
Mr. Chair, Commission members, when our code enforcement went out there, they measured the additional accessory structures that were also out there as well.
Okay, and so while this was just a staff measurement and was not surveyed, it appears that this structure is less than 5 feet from at least the fence line. Am I getting that right from this photo?
Mr. Chair, Commission members, this was also brought up at hearing officer as well. Staff had determined that these accessory structures were placed prior to the 5-foot setback. So we were okay with them staying within that 5-foot setback so long as they do obtain after the fact permits for the ones that are bigger than the minimum lot, size requirements.
So they were placed after the 5-foot setback, which would be the community overlay. And before that was put in place, wasn't it a 10-foot setback? Or am I just missing on my timing?
Mr. Chair, our previous code allowed you to build up onto the property boundary. It was a recommended 5-foot setback and 10-foot between structures.
Okay.
That was just a recommendation.
Okay, got it. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Commissioner Bruger.
Sorry, thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry, I had one more question. So if this variance request is not approved, what is staff proposing to do to the applicant?
Mr. Chair, Commission members, staff has had these conversations with the applicant. If this variance is not approved, they are willing to take off and be within that 5-foot setback so long as they can keep their carport, and they will obtain an after the fact permit as well.
Thank you very much. Any other questions of staff? Commissioner?
I just want to be clear, so this is the carport we're talking about that's right up against the property line, but it doesn't encroach into the neighboring property, correct?
Mr. Chair, Commission members, that is correct. It does not encroach into the neighboring property.
Great. Commissioner La Cruz Baca.
Just seeing the pictures of that other accessory structure that's in the adjacent property, what's the distance? Do we know what the distance is between this carport structure and that accessory structure?
Mr. Chair, Commission member, are you asking about the neighboring, is it the Wow House, I believe?
I don't know what it is, but yeah, and you can see it here in picture 4. It's like right up against that, right? And you can see it in. I'm also looking at Google Maps and aerial, and I'm seeing that's probably a little structure.
Mr. Chair, Commission members, I do not have that measurement, but I do know that the applicant does.
Okay. And that is a well house, is what you're understanding then?
That is my understanding.
And then the most adjacent actual dwelling structure, and again, I'm just looking at this on Google Maps. It looks like it's some sort of house or trailer or something like that, north of the house of the carport. And I'm assuming we don't know what the distance is for that either, do we?
Mr. Chair, Commission member, we do not.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Romero. Is the applicant here wishing to come up? Thank you. Please do and be sworn.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Jacqueline Cordova. I'm at 11 Camino Catalina, Santa Fe, New Mexico, 87506 in Pojoaque. So we are here today basically to request a variance for our carport. We would appreciate your consideration in granting this variance. At the time that we built the carport, we had no idea that we needed a permit because the house that we attached it to was permitted. So we thought it was okay, and we were unaware of the setback variance. After sending letters to our neighbors to notify them of our variance request, we received no opposition except from the Johnsons, which happens to be my dad's sister, my aunt. We were very close with her, very, very close. My kids were close with her, and she had every opportunity throughout the whole building of the structure to tell us what was bothering her or address her concerns. Being that we were so close, we would see each other and talk at the fence probably like at least 3 to 4 times a week. We'd see each other even if it was a quick, hi, how are you? My kids would talk to her. We were very close. Our family was extremely close. Many said after our carport went up, many said in passing and through phone calls, through text messages, that the structure was actually beautiful and it added a lot to that area. It made the area look very nice and would increase the property value in the neighborhood, not decrease as stated by the Johnsons. As we said at the last hearing, we are willing to make all necessary modifications to obtain a permit for our carport, whether it be mitigate by putting rain gutters to prevent any water falling off with rain barrels. If we have to, we can cut back the roof overhang. We would, or put a fence, a fireproof fence between us if need be. We would like to make clear that the carport does not extend over property at any point, as Lorraine and Gary stated. At the recommendation of the county staff, we hired licensed surveyor to establish property line. And this was after the hearing with Officer Hartstein, or Hearing Officer Hartstein. So we hired a surveyor, a licensed surveyor, to establish the property line and the site plan that clearly shows no part of the carport is over their property. We would also like to request that hearing officer's recommendations be considered since it is partially based on false accusations made in front of the hearing officer by Gary and Lorraine Johnson at previous hearing that the overhang was over their property. Gary and Lorraine Johnson just recently submitted a letter that you guys received, and in addressing your question, that tape measure, and the tape measure was going actually through the fence. It wasn't measuring like the distance between our carport and her shed. It was actually measuring a little post in the ground that she believes is our fence line. When we purchased the property, there was an existing fence there, but it was just a little fence that was like falling over. It wasn't really the property line. So when we got our property surveyed, we actually were more into her property than what we are now. Our boundary line is actually more into her property, as shown in the survey, the current survey, surveyor's report. It's actually, our boundary line's actually more into her property. So if we wanted, we could have actually put that fence more. But out of consideration, we decided to bring the fence in more towards our property at the time. So she's basically measuring to the little post in the ground, and at the time that we put the fence, I think that was bothering her as well, because she actually came to us and told us that we were in her property, our fence line was in her property. This was probably 15 to 17 years back. So that's what she was measuring. So she's trying to say that, okay, so Gary and Lorraine state that their well house is 5 feet from the property line, when in fact it is approximately 3 feet from the property line to the overhang. Another, as far as property boundaries, we have always known that the fence was not on the boundary line. Existing survey stakes clearly show boundary line. New survey also proves this. When we put the fence, we moved it toward our property, like I said, to be considerate of them, because we didn't want to move it too far that way. That doesn't mean the property boundary changed. We do not agree that the carport contrary to public interest. That carport is contrary to public interest. We sent letters to all the neighbors, and all were in favor of allowing the variance. Having to remove the carport creates a hardship. The definition of hardship does not change, regardless of who creates it. Lorraine was there every day, like I said, while the carport was being built, and never complained. In fact, my husband on several occasions had said, "Do you mind if we put the fence in your property just while the guys are working here?" And she was perfectly fine with it. Never said anything. She agreed. In fact, when the carport was done being built, we installed the lights, and he addressed that with them, her and her daughter as well. And he said, "If the lights are bothering you, please tell me, because we don't want it to be too bright or to bother you." So, like I said, we spoke regularly, and she had every opportunity to let us know how she felt before letting us finish the structure and then reporting us. Because we would have been willing to do whatever to make her happy at the time, because I would have rather had that relationship than to be divided as a family. I actually feel the most bad for my dad. I'm like, because we were all so close. And she could have just had that respect to come to us with as close as we were, to tell us, "I'm sorry, I don't like that it's coming too close this way. Do you have a permit? Maybe you should go get a permit," not wait till the whole structure was up $50,000 later and report. Just out of consideration, I think that would have been the most appropriate thing to do and humane thing to do. And I want to thank you guys for your time and your consideration. And like we said, we're willing to put rain gutters, rain barrels, whatever it is, a wall in between. whatever it is to be granted the variance. And thank you again for your time, commissioners. I appreciate it. Have a good day.
Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions of the applicant? Yeah, that's okay. Commissioner?
So you're talking about the gutters and the rain barrels. Is that one of the big issues that they had, that there was water spilling onto the property?
So what she was worried about is if you look in her document, the page that looks like this, she's saying that it's causing flooding in her yard. I haven't noticed any flooding. This is just basic erosion, like from the weather. I haven't noticed anything. We've even gone out every time it's rained or snowed, just out of consideration, because we would be like, oh, I'm sorry, like, you know, we weren't doing this out of, to be mean or hateful.
Commissioners, Lee Cordova, 11 Camino Catalina. I actually had somebody already scheduled to go put rain gutters and all that, but I had to stop because of what was going on. I mean, it's just a matter of me calling him and telling him, but he was already scheduled. He was on his way. I had to call him and stop him.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, can you give your name?
Lee Cordova, 11 Camino Catalina.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions from Commissioner Bruger?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the presentation, Ms. Cordova. So first a comment and then a question. So comment, setbacks, purpose of setbacks is so an improvement on one property doesn't negatively impact an adjacent property. So that's the reason that there are such setbacks. We, I don't know if y'all got it, but we have a picture, and it's I guess the picture was submitted by Ms. Johnson, that has the water cascading during a rainstorm off of the roof onto her property, well into her property. It's the picture. I don't think it was photoshopped, at least I assume that. And then the flooding on her property. So there's an impact. And for some of us who are more familiar with construction, there's some who aren't, and maybe, it wasn't visualized, the neighbor didn't visualize what would happen on a pitch of that slope of a metal roof, what would happen to the water, because that's one thing if it was flat roof, another thing if it's that level of pitch, the water, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but it really races down and it shoots over to the other property. Question is this a prefab unit, or did you build it, or as far as the pitch of the roof versus flat, because that that's part of the issue, how the water gets into our property.
It's a prefab triple wide.
Okay.
And I just followed the roof. And like I say, the water problem could have been taken care of. If none of this, I already had somebody going to go put us gutters and rain barrels and stuff like that. But like I say, because of this, I had to stop and I couldn't continue doing none of that. That's the reason why she's getting that, or that picture, is because I never got to complete it because I had to stop.
Thank you. It might need to be a really wide rain gutter for a big storm to catch the water going into our property. But that's just my opinion.
I have a company and I know a lot of stuff like that. I know, like I say, what needs to be done. a gutter with a lift-up ridge is going to catch all that water. I mean, it's only from it's not from the front part of it, it's the back one. And that's where all the rain gutter and everything was going to go. Because that's where you get all the water because it goes this way. The other one goes this way, like the mobile home. So, I mean, if I was to put a rain gutter with the lip facing her property higher than what they normally do, because they do make them like that, it's going to catch everything and it's not going to allow anything to go to her property.
And even without the rain gutter, Commissioner, it really hasn't negatively impacted her to divide the family. I have seen the pictures. Is it the, okay.
What is that?
Thank you. Any other questions, commissioners? Commissioner La Cruz Baca.
Sure, yeah, so I just got some just general
Crawford.
comments to put out there and stuff, so, I think, looking at this, I think it's kind of a good example of why we have building codes, why we have planning and zoning codes as well, and, I mean, I understand some people don't realize that, that they should get permits, but this is a pretty big structure,
Well, we didn't realize, and because we have had the permit for the house. We did have a permit for the house, so we didn't know that we had to get an additional permit to add on, if that makes sense.
And that's fine, like I said, people don't sometimes realize.
And then
get
it seems
permits,
like-
not in general, you should, and this is the reason why, is what I'm saying, right? Because, there are setbacks in place for a reason, for fire
See, and
safety
now we're-
concerns. There are setbacks and concerns with respect to like.
And now we're fully
creating
aware of that.
An adverse effect to a neighbor, regardless of whether she's family or not. This is a concern. I noticed that I think there's already a carport that you took a porch in your house and I think converted it to a carport already.
Yes, and you know
then-
what? Actually, the county is planning on taking a 10-foot easement from us to widen the road. So we couldn't put our carport on that side because that's what they're going to be doing, is taking a 10-foot easement near the road.
And that's an interesting point, because I mean, that's one of the things that us as board members have to look at, right? We have to look at 3 criteria, right? And one of them is the concept of oh God, I'm gonna forget the name of it right now and stuff, but it's undue hardship, right? Which is what you mentioned, right? Something like with respect to like, some part of your property being taken away, that all of a sudden creates a hardship, that you cannot actually build on that piece of property, et cetera. That's a hardship. Putting yourself into a situation where you build something without a permit and then potentially having to deal with that is not a hardship. That's a self-imposed hardship.
But a hardship is
the reason behind the hardship is more so site related, right? So if there's a problem with the site that would not have allowed you to build this structure anywhere else except for the place you decided to do so, is where we can consider that and say, hey, as a planning and board member, or at least certainly that's the way I look at it, I could look at it and say, oh yeah, I get it. There's problems with your site. That's probably why you have to build it here. And then you'd obviously would have to, work it out with your neighbor, et cetera. So that's, that's kind of where hardship comes from. It's not the fact that, sorry, I did this.
Sorry, I built it, yeah.
It's did the site provide a hardship where you would not have been able to build it anywhere else?
Right.
To seek a variance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, there's the other criteria, which is, which is the public interest scenario. And I agree with staff in this, in that by putting a carport right up to a person's property, it is against the public interest, in particular your neighbor, because you are creating an issue with respect, potential fire issue with respect to a setback. The well house is right near there. You're creating flooding and issues like that, because I mean, that's why you have a building permit, because you have to always do proper water retention. So when you have a new roof, you build a new structure, you're supposed to actually maintain your water on site. There's all this stuff that comes into play, again, why we have building codes, right? so you don't create a situation where you're affecting somebody else's property. So, yeah, so those are kind of unfortunately some of my comments that I'm looking at right now with respect to this that I just want to put out there for everybody to be aware of and stuff, as we're considering this. So,
And my name is Clarence Herrera. I'm her father. And like we said earlier, we're willing to comply with even if it is the 5-foot setback in order to get our permit, for the structure. The structure, wasn't thought thoroughly enough, like you're saying, is to put it too close to the fence, and we're not disputing that. We just need to get a permit to keep it standing, and we'll comply with whatever we can.
Thank you, Mr. Herrera. Can you give your address?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I'm also live in Cuyamongue. My address is 73 Feather Road, Santa Fe, New Mexico, 87506. It's just down the road from their house.
Thank you, sir. Any further questions of the applicants from commissioners? Thank you very much for presenting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here interested in speaking either for or against? Please come up and be sworn and give your presentation. Thank you.
I do. Yes. My name's Lorraine. My name is Lorraine Johnson. I live at 59 Feather Road, Santa Fe, New Mexico, 87506.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, zoning board, Santa Fe County Planning Commissioners. My name's Lorraine Johnson. Gary Johnson and I are opposing the variance request by Lee and Jacqueline Cordova. Our property is adjacent to their property and is negatively impacted by the carport they built. Mr. and Mrs. Cordova's request seeks after-the-fact approval of a non-permitted structure that violates Santa Fe County setback requirements and encroaches upon our property. This is a large carport structure attached to their home, is 68 feet long and 11 inches from our property line. The carport structure negatively impacts our property for the following reasons. The roof overhang is approximately 2 to 4 inches over the property line and is contributing to flooding, water pools, drainage issues. You can clearly see that the roof is over. This is a great concern as my home was not built on a permanent foundation. It is a mobile home set on blocks, which is vulnerable to flooding and drainage issues. I've attached photos showing the water runoff. Mrs. Cordova did state that she and her husband were willing to add a gutter system to mitigate the system. However, this would further encroach on our property and is not a viable solution. The encroaching structure poses a safety risk by creating a fire hazard as a result of its close and unauthorized proximity to the property line. Our well house was 5 feet from the property line, and now 6 feet or so. It was 5 feet, but Mr. Cordova moved the fence line approximately over 10 years ago. It was 5 feet and now is closer. It's 4 feet 7 inches, I measured. There is no defensible space to reduce the risk of fire spread, and in the event our well house caught fire, we have been told by our insurance carrier that we would be liable for any damage caused to the neighbor's non-compliant carport. In the event their carport caught fire, our property would be at a significant risk as well. This is also a significant concern because of our history with fire damage in our well house. Our well house has caught fire once before within the last 10 years. Non-compliant structures are widely recognized as having a negative impact on the value of adjacent properties, particularly when they encroach upon required setbacks. Prospective buyers reasonably expect neighboring structures to comply with zoning requirements. As a result, the non-compliant carport directly depreciates the value of our property. In response to the survey letter from Salvador Vigil, I'd like to first say that Mr. Vigil's letter should not be considered due to the doctrine of boundary by acquiescence. For more than 10 years, both our property and the Cordovas property have recognized and treated the existing fence line as the boundary between the parcels. Under New Mexico law, when adjoining landowners mutually accept a visible boundary for a long period of time, that line becomes the legal controlling boundary through the doctrine of boundary by acquiescence. Courts have made clear that acquiescence may be inferred from the parties' conduct, including maintaining the fence and treating it as the dividing line, even without any express agreement. Importantly, again, Mr. Cordova did replace the fence, the original fence, which existed when we moved to the property over 30 years ago, with a fence that stands today and has been in place for over a decade. When he replaced the fence, he actually encroached upon our property by approximately 9 inches. And that was the photo, one of the photos where I did put, I'm showing 9 inches to the pole, the original fence pole. The photo that she was stating that was taken by the Santa Fe County is, let's see, it's 41 inches. And that was taken by the county staff, the measuring tape, and that was from their shed to my property line, which is not 5 feet. It's not a 5 feet setback. Under New Mexico law, this long-term mutual recognition fixes the fence line as the true legal boundary. For this reason alone, Mr. Vigil's field survey should not be considered. Please note I've attached photos showing the fence has been in place for over 10 years. And I can provide more if needed. Additionally, Mr. Vigil's survey lacks essential information and reliability. His letter does not identify the coordinates used in conducting the survey, nor does it explain how he reached his conclusions, given that one or more of the original landmarks are missing. It's also unclear whether he relied on the already recorded warranty deed and plat. These recorded documents should be given priority and must be considered when determining the actual property line of both parcels. Copies of the original warranty deed and plat are attached for reference. It's also worth noting that in the more than 30 years we have lived there, no one has ever contested the property lines. For all of these reasons, the existing fence line remains the legally recognized boundary, and Mr. Vigil's survey should not be considered. However, even in the event that you choose to consider Mr. Vigil's survey, this should not affect our opposition to the variance request, since these measurements do not change the fact that the Cordovas carport remains in violation of the Santa Fe County zoning ordinance, requiring a minimum setback of 5 feet. In conclusion, it's our position that Mr. and Mrs. Cordovas' variance request should be denied in its entirety, as the request is contrary to public interest, constitutes a self-created hardship, and is not consistent with the spirit of the Sustainable Land Development Code. We respectfully request that you rule consistently with the Santa Fe County Staff Report and Hearing Officer Taylor Hartstein's recommended order. We've also submitted, again, a letter, an additional letter, a plat, warranty deed, and photos for your review. Also, I would like to address that I didn't tell the Cordovas how to build their carport, because that's not up to me to tell them how to build anything on their property. They never told me they were going to build it 11 inches from my property line, or I would have said that they should build it 5 feet, according to the zoning requirements. Also, I mean, their lot is a large lot. They could have placed it anywhere on their property. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
Mhm.
Commissioner Pava, you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Question for Mrs. Johnson. So you've lived there? I
Over
take it,
30 years.
30
about
years.
Almost 34.
Prior to the construction of the carport piece, had you observed water runoff onto your
No.
property?
No, I haven't.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions of Ms. Johnson? Commissioner Bruger?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Johnson, when this structure was going up, I'm sorry. When this structure was going up, did you talk to the Cordovas?
I did not, and they never talked to me, and I didn't feel like it was my place to tell them how to build their carport.
Any other questions? Thank you,
Thank
Ms. Johnson.
Thank you.
I have a question for
Mr. Chair,
Attorney.
there is one individual online that wishes to speak.
Yep, please, bring them in.
Hello, Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Gary Johnson, and me and Lorraine are in.
Oh,
strong
Mr. Johnson,
opposition-
can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I need to put you under oath. So,
Okay.
do you swear or affirm that your testimony will be the truth?
Yes.
And will you also supply your address, please? Thank
Yeah,
you.
1024 Calle de Sueños in Santa Fe, New Mexico, 87507.
Thank you, sir. Please proceed.
Yes, sir. My name is Gary Johnson. Me and Lorraine are the property owners of 59 Feather Road, the property adjacent to the Cordova family. We stand in strong opposition of the variance request. As stated earlier about fire concerns, between the distance between the properties, which is stated in the letter that we have submitted. As Ms. Cordova stated or testified in the earlier hearing, I have not lived on the property for the last 15 years, but I am still the property owner of said property. She also testified that one of the landmarks, one of the markers was missing. So I do agree with Lorraine that the survey that was done, was incomplete. I've been in contact with our insurance carrier, who stated that the well house in such close proximity to their new carport, we would be liable for any damage to their property if another fire happened in that well house. Now, we've had one fire in that well house already, and the fire damage is still present on the wall facing the Cordova family, which is subject to be inspected by Santa Fe County at any time if they need to. This is strictly a liability issue. This is nothing personal with the Cordova family, which is family, right? The complaint that was filed by me and not by Lorraine Johnson, and it was filed strictly because I was never consulted as a property owner about the property that was going up. Again, I haven't lived there for 15 years. So I wasn't privy to watching the construction go up daily. And I believe strictly from a liability standpoint, me as being a property owner would be responsible for any damage if a subsequent fire occurred in that well house and caught the Cordovas family structure on fire. They also have children that live in that house. So naturally, you know, I'm concerned for the lives of the Cordova family, their children, as well. So, I do agree with the commission that that's why these rules are in place. You know, you want to have that barrier between to mitigate any type of fire that can occur. And at the end of the day, I think safety is what everybody needs to be focusing on. You know, I mean, I would feel horrible if a fire occurred on a structure on my property that resulted in injury or death of anybody or other family members. And I think that everybody is failing, you know, and I don't mean the commission. I mean, you know, I think that comes to the root of the issue. So yes, I did reach out to the county. I did file the complaint. The complaint was not filed by Lorraine Johnson. It was filed by me strictly for liability purposes. And that's why I'm bringing the complaint. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Commissioner has a question for you.
I'm looking at the assessor's parcel map, and I'm wondering what the distance is between your house and the neighbors next to you on the other side. If you're concerned about fire, these are very narrow lots, and this looks like a very narrow or very, you know, I can't tell what the distance is, but it looks like it's pretty close.
Yeah, it actually on the other side, it is very close. And those are the Browns that live on the other side of Lorraine. And the Browns, when they built their structures, they were in compliance with the 5-foot setback rule or 10-foot setback rule. So there is 10 feet between both structures.
Right. And sir, is your home in compliance with that 5-foot setback rule? Because it appears from, and again, we can't go by the digital image that we see in the assessor's database, but it appears that the lot line bisects your house or cut. Yeah. So are you sure that your home is within the 5-foot setbacks on both sides of the home?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir. I have a question for you. In the photographs we see, it appears that the well house is particle board. It has not been restuccoed. Is that just the grainy photograph I'm seeing, or is that a stucco surface?
No, it is not a stucco surface. It is just particle board, and it is there's a hole that has been burned through the particle board from the previous fire.
Okay. Thanks very much, sir. Any other questions of Mr. Johnson? No. Thank you very much. Anyone else interested in speaking on this, staff? Hold on. We will ask questions if we have them. Thanks.
Mr. Chair, there's no one else online that wishes to speak.
Thank you. Sir, you wanted to say something? This is not really a rebuttal type situation. So let's the public hearing is now closed. I have a question for the attorney. Mrs. Johnson raised an issue of acquiescence as being superior to the survey of a registered surveyor. And I wonder if you can comment on your interpretation of that possible case law with my understanding.
Mr. Chair, I'm not terribly familiar with the specific doctrine of acquiescence that she raised. I assume it is somewhat similar to the concept of prescriptive easements, but it works.
Adverse possession, yeah.
Yes, but the difference obviously being one is adverse and the other presumably is by agreement, by acquiescence. I think the the governing law on the issue is that official, professional surveys are are more controlling. As with prescriptive easements, that needs to be done by court order. It doesn't just exist because you say it exists. And the fact is, I think with respect to the argument regarding acquiescence, if it's by acquiescence, then you should be able to put that in writing, or you should be able to stipulate to some sort of judgment if it is truly acquiescence. So I'm not sure if that's really the case in this instance, but I do not think that one party's assertion of a boundary by acquiescence supersedes or controls an actual survey.
Thank you. So for our purposes, we should, and I'm looking at Mrs. Johnson's submittal in paper today, but for our purposes, we should assume that the boundary between these two properties is represented by the surveyor's stakes rather than the existence of the current fence or a previous fence. I just want to kind of close that loop, if that makes sense. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, to touch further on that subject, staff's position is that we take the licensed surveyor over than the word there that would be. If Ms. Johnson were to hire her own surveyor and contest that, that would be a whole different story, but because they hired the surveyor, we're bound to that.
Right, and my understanding of the word acquiescence is it's an agreement rather than I am saying that you acquiesce. So I just want to point that out. Commissioners, what is your wish? Any other questions of the applicant or staff? Commissioner Pava.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's a question for staff. There was mention made in testimony by the public. I think it was the applicant who stated something about a 10-foot easement that is going to is not currently existing, but is in process with the county. If this is so, can you elaborate one way or another about what this is? I saw nothing about it in the applicant's statement that would justify unusual circumstances or extraordinary circumstances, yet that might weigh in factoring whether this plus the survey business weighing in on this variance. So my question specifically is about this easement.
So the widening of Camino Catalina, that statement that was made, right?
Mr. Chair, commission members, staff had no knowledge of Santa Fe County trying to obtain an additional 10-foot easement from the Cordovas until today's hearing.
Thank you. Commissioners, any other questions? What is the will of the commission? I'm sorry, Commissioner, did you say something? Okay.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. In the matter of this case number 255220, variance from Lee and Jacqueline Cordova, I would motion for denial of the variance in accordance with the findings of fact and the findings of fact in the staff report.
Thank you. We have a motion for denial. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Commissioners, we have a motion for denial and a second. All those in favor of denying this application, please signify by saying aye. Let's have a roll call vote, please.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So the variance request has been denied. Thank you very much. There is the opportunity to appeal this, if you so wish, to the Board of County Commissioners. But thank you very much for bringing this to us today. So staff, I wonder if you can speak to this issue. So the applicant has requested, what do they do to remedy the situation now that the motion of this variance has been denied?
Mr. Chair, Commission members, so staff will now work on the final order that will come in front of you within the next month or two. After that has been approved and recorded, they do have an opportunity to file an appeal application within 30 days of that recording date. Once they do that, then staff will work on getting them on the next agenda to the Board of County Commissioners. I will go ahead and work with the applicant if they wish to appeal and let them know when that final order is recorded and approved and when they can come in.
And if that appeal to the Board of County Commissioners is denied, what is the action that takes place in order to remedy the situation on the ground?
Mr. Chair, Commission members, Mr. Lovato, Mr. Persino, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that if the Board of County Commissioners does deny the request, they then also get an opportunity to appeal that and go in front of district court.
But I think what you're really getting
What
at
I'm really
is,
getting at is,
practically
once they've
speaking,
gone through the administrative procedure to do this fun work over and over again, if the answer still is the same, that the variance request is denied and has been found to be properly done by a district court, if it gets to that level, then what is the action that is taken in order to rectify this situation?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, they will be required to meet code standards and meet the setback requirements. If they cannot do so, they will have to either remove the structure and place it where it does meet requirements, or just abandon the idea of having that structure altogether.
Or shrink the structure so that it and its overhang are 5 feet from the surveyed property line.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, practically speaking, they're going to have to be working with staff in any event,
Yep.
because it sounds like there are several after-the-fact applications that they need to be submitting, and as part of that process, it simply makes sense to visit about what options they face with respect to this particular variance request.
Right, so if you choose not to do this again with the Board of County Commissioners in the appeal process, then the procedure would be to get with the staff and say, what do we need to do to make this right? And they'll work with you to say, here's what you need to do with regard to the after-the-fact permit, here's what you need to do with regard to the structure, and then hopefully you guys can put this behind you. Thanks very much, Destiny. The next item is case number 25-5240, new wireless communication facility conditional use permit.
Yes. 240 Grant Avenue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Marie Martinez, Building and Development Review Specialist with the Growth Management Division. New wireless communication facility conditional use permit. Sunstate Towers, Verizon Wireless, applicant, Pinnacle Consulting agent, request a conditional use permit to allow the placement of a new 65-foot tall wireless communication facility. The site is within the Agricultural Ranching Zoning District. Table 10-3 allows for a height of 150 feet within the AR zoning district. Appendix B, use matrix, illustrates that a new wireless communication facility within the AR zoning district is a conditional use requiring a CUP. The subject parcel is approximately 170.02 acres, which is 1,600 acres, which 1,600 square feet will be utilized for the facility, tower, and equipment. The site contains minor slopes exceeding 15 to 20% grade and is visible to State Road 14 and New Mexico 344. The location of the facility is within the low-density area, and there are a few residents within the surrounding area. The proposed site also has power lines adjacent to the proposed wireless facility. Access to the facility will be from New Mexico 344, and the applicant has obtained an access permit from the New Mexico Department of Transportation. The applicant has addressed the CUP criteria as detailed in this memo. The applicant addressed and staff reviewed the request for the following applicable design standards per SLDC Chapter 7, Sustainable Design Standards, and Chapter 10, Supplemental Zoning Standard as follows. Section 7.2, Fire and Building Codes, Section 7.3, Setbacks, and Chapter 10, Section 10.17.3.2. Section 7.4, Access and Easements. Section 7.5, Fire Protection. Section 7.6, Landscaping and Buffering. Section 7.7, Fences and Walls, and Chapter 10, Section 10.17.3.7. Section 7.8, Lighting, and Chapter 10, Section 10.17.3.4, Section 7.9, Signage, and Chapter 10, Section 10.17.3.8, Section 7.10, Parking and Loading, Section 7.11, Road Design Standards, Section 7.12, Utilities, Section 7.15, Open Space, Section 7.16, Protection of Historic and Archaeological Resources, Section 7.17, Terrain Management, Section 7.18, Flood Prevention and Flood Control, Section 7.19, NYDES, Section 7.21, Air Quality, Section 7.26, Infrastructure and Right-of-Way Dedication, Section 10.17.3.1, Height, Chapter 10, Section 10.17.3.6, Color, Chapter 10, Section 10.17.3.9, Safety, Chapter 10, Section 10.17.3.10, Accommodation of Future Colocation, Chapter 10, Section 10.17.3.11, Proliferation Minimized, Chapter 10, Section 10.17.3.12, visual impacts minimized. Chapter 10, Section 10.17.3.16, licensure and installation contractor. Staff has determined that the applicant's response to the pertinent design standards outlined in Chapter 7 and Chapter 10 satisfy the SLD requirements. Hearing officer recommendation. On January 8, 2026, this request was presented to the Sustainable Land Development Hearing Officer. The hearing officer memorialized findings of fact and conclusion of law in a recommended order on this request. The hearing officer, based on the evidence presented, recommended approval of the application's conditional use permit with conditions proposed by staff. The written order and the minutes of January 8, 2026 hearing are attached as Exhibits T and U. Building and Development Services staff has reviewed this project for compliance with pertinent SLDC requirements and has found that the facts presented support the request for a conditional use permit to construct a monopole 65 feet in height. The facility meets the purpose and intent outlined in Section 10.17.2 of the SLDC. The use structure will not impact adjacent land users, and the applicant satisfies the submittal requirements set forth in the SLDC, inclusive of the conditional use criteria set forth in Chapter 4, Section 4.9.6.5. Staff recommends approval of the conditional use permit for a wireless communication facility to construct a monopole 65 feet in height within the 40 by 40 lease area located at 1728 NM 344 Sandia Park, subject to the following conditions. Mr. Chair, Commissioners, may I enter these conditions into the record?
Yes, you may.
This report and the exhibits listed below are hereby submitted as part of the hearing record. Thank you. At this time, I stand for any questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Martinez. Do commissioners have questions? Commissioner Bruger?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First off, I wanted to thank staff. There is a letter in the file from staff, from Andrew Harnden, that explicitly states that the proposed project is consistent with a sustainable growth management plan, which is a condition of conditional use plan approval. It's something we've been asking for 2 consecutive meetings, and I was really happy to see that. Thank you.
Thank you.
The second question, per code 10.17.3.10, as a condition of approval, the applicant shall submit a shared use plan that commits the owner of the proposed antenna supporting structure to accommodate future co-locations where reasonable and feasible. That be a condition of any approval. I didn't see, and maybe I missed it, a shared use plan in the documentation. Was there one, or is that a question later for the applicant?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Bruger, this is a requirement that any co-locate come before land use that we can administratively, as a non-substantial adjustment, be able to approve administratively. Right now, it's just Verizon, I believe, that is proposing the actual locate. Later on, such T-Mobile or whoever else come through, they would be required to submit that. As part of a condition, we can impose that they submit that.
In my mind, my opinion, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions of staff from members of the commission? Thanks very much, Ms. Martinez.
Thank you.
Is the applicant or, please come forward, be sworn, and give your presentation. Thank you.
Scott Quinn from Pinnacle Consulting.
Thank you.
I do. Scott Quinn, 1426 North Marvin Street, Gilbert, Arizona, 85233. Thank you. Mr. Chair, members of the commission, thank you very much for this opportunity. And great job by staff, by the way. A lot of points, a lot of sections of the ordinance that were covered, so I could see that their thorough job has been completed here. This site here has been in the making for quite some time. Verizon had approached us. We're one of their preferred vendors to build new sites for them. This is an area that's been struggling for coverage from an E911 standpoint, and then also just from general customer use and just tourism and everything else. We wanted to be sensitive to the area. That's why we're not asking for a 150-foot pole. We're asking for the 65-foot pole. We're also making the earth tone colors to where it will blend in with the surroundings better with the earth tones that are in that particular area. With respect to the co-locations, Verizon doesn't typically want to own their own towers. That's why they come to a company like us, to where we have a company called Sun State Towers, and we manage that, and it's in our best interest to bring on to other co-locations because we want to obviously be able to make it beneficial to us as well. Typically, with the first provider on a tower, you're not really generating a lot of revenue off of it. It's that second and third provider. So this tower is structurally adequate to be able to facilitate 2 additional carriers on it. It could possibly even do a 4th, but obviously, you know who the big players are now. We have AT&T and T-Mobile, and there has been some interest expressed in locating on this site as well. Within some of the documents that were provided, you could see the great distance there is with the other towers in the surrounding area. There's several miles. So this is an ideal location because of the line of sight and be able to connect to other sites in the area. I don't want to bore you with a lot of details here because it sounds like it's been a long day for you already with everything prior. So I'm here to answer any kind of questions you might have at this point.
Thank you, and we appreciate you came up from Arizona, which probably is a little warmer than it is here today. Commissioners, do you have any questions of the applicant?
No. I should say, can you hear me now? But okay. Seriously, so in reading the extensive documentation on this 65-foot monopole, I happened to come across a rather well-prepared environmental assessment. I used to do that at Los Alamos for many years. I was very impressed with the EA. I could learn an awful lot about the surrounding area if I wanted to really dig down. My question is, do you end up having to do an EA like that for each monopole installation, or do you have some kind of programmatic? Because it seems like it's not inexpensive to do that for one installation. I know this has nothing to do with our determination per se, but it's a matter of curiosity.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think over the years you've probably have seen the negative side of cell tower development. That obviously people took shortcuts, built things without going through the proper channels. And then you also have the FCC and the FAA that are involved, and there's a lot of regulations. And then there's also guidelines that if you violate those guidelines, that there's additional, more stringent requirements. And that's where these environmental requirements have become a much bigger thing, to where we want to safeguard ourselves. And Verizon over the years, because they got so large and had so many different people working for them, that mistakes were made along the way, to where there were things by the FCC that basically made some of the requirements for them even more stringent than maybe some of the other providers because of how big of a company they are. As a result of that, now they've got to cross every T, dot every I, and so the environmental studies have gotten so much more extensive. And it helps to protect them as well, because we don't want to come back later and find out that down the road that they didn't do their due diligence and that there's, for some reason, the tower has to be moved or relocated or something.
Well, thank you for the explanation. I was just impressed with the level of detail for something like a monopole in a very rural area, but that's reassuring when folks talk about us making decisions, maybe not being as informed as we could be, but I think this demonstrates quite clearly that if anybody wants to know about this particular monopole, or others you do, that there's quite an extensive process that is followed. So thank you very much.
Yes, Commissioner.
Yeah, what is the federal hook for a NEPA? Why do you have to do a NEPA document in an environmental assessment report?
I'm sorry, what's the hook you mentioned?
Right, this is on federal land, is it?
It's on, I'm sorry?
Is this on federal land?
No, it's not on federal.
Then why is a NEPA and a NEPA document required?
FCC?
FCC.
Oh, FCC.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, what the federal connection was, okay.
But it's also in our best interest too. Let's say if it's Sun State Tower that's developing the site, they don't want to have anything come back on them either. If they want, they want a long-term revenue stream rather than, taking a chance on it. And,
Right.
and ask me how I know, because over the years, those mistakes have been made. And so you don't want to repeat those same bad mistakes. You have investors that invest in these things as well.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Bruger.
Chair. So your company would own the tower? Is that it?
Correct. Yeah. Like as I mentioned, Verizon and AT&T and T-Mobile, they're not typically in the business of owning their towers. They might front the money at first to build a tower, but in most cases, they're going to want to turn that over to some type of a tower company. And the big players these days are like American Tower Company, Crown Castle, Vertical Bridge. I'm sure you probably heard of some of those companies. Sun State's a much smaller, I don't want to say a mom and pop company because it's gotten a little bit bigger, but because of being a little bit more flexible, that's why Sun State's kind of entered the picture and is like one of the preferred vendors for someone like Verizon.
Okay. So then as a matter of course, you would reach out to AT&T or T-Mobile or whoever to join in and to co-locate on the tower. It'd be in your interest to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's our top priority. That's really the only way that we make money is, like I say, that first provider we put up isn't really a moneymaker for us.
Okay. Then I guess my previous comment on a shared use plan isn't really that important because you'd be doing that just as part of your standard business model.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions from commissioners? What's the will of the commission?
Mr. Chair,
I'm sorry?
you didn't open up for public hearing.
Oh. So is there anyone online who is interested in speaking either for or against this topic?
Mr. Chair, there is one individual, our fire department, who would like to speak, but
Oh,
no one
great.
online in terms of public.
Thank you. Please unmute your mic and swear yourself in, whoever you are.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Fire Inspector Craig Fulmer, Santa Fe County Fire Department.
Oh, hello.
Oh.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
I need to swear you in. Do you swear or affirm that your testimony will be the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you also get a little closer to the mic and provide your name and address, please? Thank you.
Sure. Name is Craig Fulmer. My address is 35 Camino Justicia, Santa Fe.
Please go ahead, sir.
I just had a question about the access driveway. It doesn't quite meet fire code minimum requirements for Santa Fe County Fire Code. And I'm wondering if we can work with the applicant to revise the site plan to make sure the access driveway meets minimum fire code for a commercial property.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, this did get reviewed by County Fire. We do have conditions, but I will, at the time of building permit, have the applicant work with County Fire Prevention for ensurement of that.
And might I add to that as the applicant? Yeah, part of on the plans, you'll notice too, there is a turnaround radius that was designed specifically for the fire needs or any kind of emergency access to the site as well. And there's currently the 16-foot wide access, but as staff has stated, we're more than willing to work with the fire department to make sure that they have a clear and easy access to the site.
Thanks. Is there anything else from fire?
No, I just wanted to mention that we're happy to meet with them at their convenience to do just that.
Thank you. Thanks. Is there anyone else online who would like to speak either for or against this application?
Mr. Chair, there are no further.
Thanks. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So the public hearing portion of this is now closed. And what is the will of the commission?
I'll do a motion to approve, well, for case 25-5240, I motion to approve the conditional use permit, including the recommended conditions from staff.
Thank you very much. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Thank you, Commissioner Pava. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. This conditional use permit is approved. Next item is petitions from the floor. Commissioner Bruger, let's wait for, and now, matters from the commission.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just saw a newspaper article about subdivision going to county commission out in La Tierra. And I'd mentioned this before, but I know this follows code that we don't review subdivisions, but when would the code be changed so that the planning commission reviews subdivisions? I can't think of another planning department anywhere where the planning commission doesn't review subdivisions. I know it's in the code, but I sure hope that you would change that. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Bruger. Anything else in matters from the commission? Commissioner Pava.
I would second that emotion from Commissioner Bruger. I have never in my 40-plus years been in a location where Planning Commission wouldn't review at least major subdivisions. And as if the County Commission, and I'll say it, are experts in this. That's what we are appointed to do, and if you read the code, I think it's beyond inferred that this is something we should be doing to protect the public health, safety, and welfare. Thank you.
Thanks. And I would just ask staff, I understand that there have been some discussions of when we open the code up, we'll look at changing some things. We've had conversations about that in the last year or so. And I'm wondering what are the current plans to look at the code to maybe accommodate this suggestion as well as others.
Chair Obo, members of the commission, thank you for the question. I'm meeting with our consultant tomorrow morning.
Oh,
so we are kicking this off, and we have a lot of things on our radar. This is really, I think you heard Director Lamboy talk about the first phase of their code update, was just really more of I think they called it like code sanitation, to kind of clean up all the little bits that conflict or aren't clear. So we will be focused on that, but Table 4.1 is also something we are definitely going to look at this early phase.
Thanks very much, Alex. Commissioner.
Is this my last meeting?
Let me formalize that. So what are the intentions to, there are a few empty chairs here and soon to be empty chairs perhaps. And so what is happening there?
Chair Obo, Commissioner, I don't even know how to pronounce it. Sorry. We will be bringing some candidates to the Board of County Commissioners. And I think I misspoke. I forgot that next Tuesday is not the meeting. It's March 31st. So we will be, so yes, thank you so much for your service. This is your last meeting. And you get to take your name tag with you.
I have one of these already, but I'll take another one. I'll have a whole room full of my New Mexico names. But I want to thank the staff and everybody. It's been a really great experience. I can't believe I started during the pandemic, and that was an interesting time to do everything on Zoom. So everything went well. So thank you to everyone.
Right, and with this as your last meeting, we hope you'll stop in, and we haven't seen JJ in the audience. But we hope you'll stop in and say hello, and you've been a great planning commissioner. Really appreciate it. Anything else matters from the commission, matters from the attorney?
Nothing from legal. Mr. Chair, I suspect staff will probably remind you of upcoming solar projects, but I'll leave that to John.
Great. And so, John?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, Linnea just came before the hearing officer this past month. That will be done in the pipeline here soon. We will get you more information as it's provided.
Okay. And so we're not sure when their recommended order will come out and when the materials will be ready for us to consider, right? We'll find out. It might be next month, it might be the month after, or...
Mr. Chair, that is correct.
Got it. Okay. Our next regularly scheduled meeting is April 16th. And make it a motion for adjournment.
Well,
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you very much. Oh, there you go. Hey, can